Welcome back to Mega Man Zero. Last time, Zero was awoken in a much different world. Not that he would know he's got amnesia, or hibernation sickness as it were. But we know that there's this place called Neo Arcadia that is killing innocent Reploids. And at the head of it all is Zero's former boyfriend X, which doesn't particularly sound like X for the most part. That's typically not a thing he did. But no time to worry about that now. Ciel's got a new mission for us. So, we are off to the disposal center. So it sounds like a place where they just dispose of trash, and that's more or less how they see it. They do kill innocent people there, though. So this is our first real mission of the game, and it's definitely a lot harder than the Rescue CL mission. Mainly because of the Rolly guys. I hate them. They're very annoying to deal with. They typically kind of just come out of nowhere, and really your best strategy is to just know that they're there, or they will dash straight into you. You can slow them down by hitting them, so Buster's your best option to at least mitigate them charging you, but still, they're just annoying. They have ended many a run. Speaking of ending a run, make sure not to destroy that thing, but rather change its direction to change the wind. Now, you might want to double back and destroy that thing now that we've gotten that Cyber Elf, because the wind is very annoying. I don't like having to deal with the wind. And right here, we actually got the benefit of the Revisited hack. I mentioned that I installed this hack, but I mostly talked about the Restoration hack, which is, you know, changes to the script, add some blood. But Revisited is kind of the meat of this whole thing. It made a bunch of changes that are for the best, and that includes weapon levels. So I mentioned last time, weapon levels are bad. It's anybody's least favorite part of that, other than the ranking screen, and that's because it just takes so long to build weapon levels that it's just really not fun. You really have to grind at it, and considering you can't do a full charge without grinding, it was kind of a bad decision overall. Enough of that for now, though, because we are already at the boss. This is definitely a harder mission, but when it goes well, it's also pretty quick. But Aztec Falcon here is also the reason this mission is so hard. Yeah, he's not gonna go down in one saber slash like the Golem. Also worthy of note, that blood in the background, that's also thanks to the Restoration hack. That was not in the US release. So Aztec Falcon sucks. Mainly because you have a time limit, and it doesn't look particularly long. So, really this battle tries to overwhelm you. He's constantly playing a game of keep away. It's pretty easy to avoid his shots, but of course, the longer you just wait for him, the less time you have. You do just get a game over if you let that guy die, so don't. You might also notice that if you did not get to Aztec Falcon with an A or an S rank, that he jumps off the wall, and that's unusual. So that is referred to as an EX attack, though not in this game, that's mostly from the rest of the games. Basically, if you have a high enough rank, bosses have an extra attack that usually catches you off guard, or it's pretty strong or something. There's absolutely no benefit to you for them doing the EX attack, and that might sound pretty obvious, but I'm saying that for a reason. Again, this is a later game thing. I don't even know if they're, like, officially called EX attacks in this one, but again, that's a term from the later games, so it's kind of just been adopted here. If it was not the proper term already. Regardless, though, yeah, Aztec Falcon mainly tries to keep you busy, but up until he crushes these guys to death. Which, yeah, that's definitely a time limit that makes you feel like you need to go as quickly as possible. That is a panic-inducing pause, especially when you realize those guys were just shaking out of sheer terror. Yeah, you don't really want to mess with a spiked ceiling. That will kill you. And hey, we got a full 100 points, so despite the fact that Aztec Falcon is the bane of my existence, got a good enough run to just get a full 100. Right, so that was only 5 minutes long, but it's a 12-minute video because we are going to be re-exploring the base this time around. We explored it last time, but there are new conversations, and also it's opened up a little bit. So yeah, this is where the game opens up as well. We had no choice but to do that mission. But not only do we have a bunch of new missions waiting for us... let's see, is she gonna give us the thing? You'll find our engineer named Servo. Ask me... Okay, yeah, he gives you this. So, this is the escape unit. You are allowed to quit a mission if you don't think you can complete it. However, you're probably just going to want to restart from a save if you find yourself in that sort of situation, because that will count the mission as failed. And that is significant, because that's not just you lose a life and you have to start again, or you just get kicked out but you can try again. No, whatever you were trying to do in that mission, you mess it up. You screw it up and you actually can't do the mission anymore. So, people will die, things will become inaccessible, and if you fail enough missions, you just get taken straight to the end game. So 01 is a very experimental game, both for the Mega Man series, but also for the Zero series. The later games are a little more in line for what you'd expect from a Mega Man game, but this one just feels very off the cuff. Up to including the fact that we have something similar to the time limit in X5, where if you mess up enough, it just takes you to the end game, and you kind of miss some things or something bad happens. So it's in your best interest to do well. Also interesting about this game is that it's mostly interconnected. So we had that big ol' level, that is all to the right of the Resistance base, at least at top level. But we've also got this desert area over here, which we could go out to at this point, but I'm not going to. The most important thing to do is go over to this door so that we can find the trans server. And now we just have a handy warp for this general spot. But yeah, like, most of this game is connected. The underground lab that we visited in the first mission is not part of it, you can't just walk to it, but yeah, most of the areas in this game you can just kind of stroll over to. Also, Andre's here, and we have a cyber elf from him, and in order to get it, we have to listen to his entire story.
Yeah, you know that owl guy from the Sonic OVA? And how he was popular with the ladies? Yeah, that was me.
But yeah, this is actually a pretty interesting story, more so now that I'm not a child, and also that I have played earlier X games. Cause yeah, like, there weren't a lot of old Reploids in the X series, because, you know, they are synthetic people, why would you make them old? So you have a situation like Sergi, and it's like, why did you make this guy an old guy? But we do have a child Reploid, and we also have this elderly Reploid here. And also, you do miss out on the cyber elf if you say that you're bored, so make sure you're paying attention and make sure you don't accidentally choose the wrong option. You do not want to stop listening, you're still interested. Keep going. But yeah, he specifically wanted to be made into an older Reploid because he didn't want the person he loved to resent him for never aging. And now he's just an old dude, forever. Unless you have an e-reader. Not for this game, though. This game doesn't have any e-reader features. But yeah, you missed that cyber elf if you answer incorrectly. And you might be thinking, wait, you can just permanently miss a thing? Mostly yes. That being said, this game does have New Game Plus, so you can have another chance at getting the Cyber Elf if you want. In fact, you get as many as you want to. There is no limit to the number of New Game Pluses you can do. I know that sounds obvious, but like, I think there are some games that limit the amount. I'm specifically thinking of Final Fantasy IV DS, I think. Pretty sure that was the case, where you only get 3 playthroughs, which is a little silly, but yeah, no, you can replay this game as much as you want, which sounds pretty cool, and it is. I made a lot of use of New Game Plus when I was a kid. However, there is one problem with it that not even Revisited solves, though it does mitigate the problem a lot. When you start a New Game Plus, Cyber Elves stay dead if you've used them. You keep a lot of the stuff between playthroughs. You do not keep weapon levels. Yeah, you know the thing that's really annoying to grind? Yeah, you just straight up can't keep those when you start a new game. It is easily the worst part of this game, and a little bit of 2 as well, that if you want to start a new game, even if you specifically say, yeah, I want to play this game, but like with all the stuff I've collected already, the game just says, yeah, but you can't actually keep your charges. And now that we have the electric chip, I can also say, one of the annoying things about not being able to fully charge a weapon until you gain levels is the fact that you can't actually hit elemental weaknesses until you gain those levels. Yeah. This is a very experimental game, and in terms of the feel of the game, the atmosphere of it, I think that works out really well and I like it. Mechanically, there are definitely some weird spots here and there that the Revisited hack will absolutely help, but that won't have much bearing next time on Mega Man Zero. Unless I gain a weapon level, which, to be fair, I probably will. Seriously, it is really slow if you're playing original.